Welcome to Move Church. Thanks for joining us for this week's message. We pray this message will both move and inspire you to make a decision into an authentic relationship with Jesus Christ. This relationship is where you obtain freedom and will help value your purpose and give you the power to engage your world. Now to the message.
How y'all doing this morning? Hey, is there anybody who's on fire for the power and the presence of the Lord this morning? Come on, is there anybody here looking for that this morning? Come on, I just want to know if there's anybody who can still worship right now, even though after the music is gone, we can just still lift up the Lord with praises in this place. Listen, I am excited this morning. I'm on fire. Listen, God has just been speaking to me over a period of time, so I have the honor and the distinguished pleasure to speak to you just from a place of peace. Amen? We are starting a new series that I am calling High-Minded. Somebody say high-minded. I just think that this is a space that we need to go to as a church, as believers, as followers, so that we can obtain a new level. Somebody say new level. Come on, y'all need to do better than that because y'all slept in a little late, so y'all got to bring that energy up for me this morning, all right? Y'all got to bring that energy up for me this morning. Listen, God has just been revealing some things to me, and I think it has a lot to do with the mind. And so I hope that you're in a space this morning to kind of hear the word from a perspective of your thoughts, because that's where we're going to go. Like there's just something about the power of our thoughts that sometimes we overlook. And so this morning, I really want to just bring a focus to that. Can I do that with y'all this morning? Hey, is it okay if I read the Bible? Is that all right? Are we in the right place to do that? I want to read the Bible, if that's okay. Listen, I want to go to the book of Exodus. This is just, it's a cliche Bible story. Everybody knows about it, but sometimes when we read something, we overlook the significance of the story. And so I'm going to take you to the book of Exodus, and we're going to read just for a couple of verses something that I think is significant, and we're going to try to do our best to tie it in to what it has to do with our thoughts. It says this: one day Moses was tending the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian. He led the flock far into the wilderness and came to Sinai, the mountain of God. There, the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a blazing fire from the middle of a bush. Moses stared in amazement. Moses said to himself, "Why isn't that bush burning up? I must go see it." When the Lord saw Moses coming to take a closer look, God called to him from the middle of the bush, "Moses, here I am." Moses replied, "Do not come any closer," the Lord warned. "Take off your sandals, for you are standing on holy ground. I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." When Moses heard this, he covered his face because he was afraid to look at God. Then the Lord told him, "I have certainly seen the oppression of my people in Egypt. I have heard their cries of distress because of their harsh slave drivers. Yes, I am aware of their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them from the power of the Egyptians and lead them out of Egypt into their own fertile, spacious land. It is a land flowing with milk and honey, the land where the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites now live. Look, the cry of the people of Israel has reached me, and I have seen how harshly the Egyptians abuse them. Now, go, for I am sending you to Pharaoh." This is my favorite part. I'm not done yet, but this is my favorite part. I don't want you guys to miss this. "You must lead my people out of Egypt." But Moses protested God. "Who am I," he says, "to appear before Pharaoh?" Then he goes again. "Who am I to lead the people of Israel out of Egypt?" God answered, "I will be with you." This is a powerful moment in the Bible. Here is a man literally in the presence of God questioning his calling. questioning his significance. Now, it's not every day that you and I encounter burning bushes and hear God speaking through that bush. And you would think that as a result of this revelation, that Moses would be like, yo, this must be my time. But even in that situation, he still doubted. He still had disbelief. And that's so significant and powerful because you and I, are dealing with something very similar. And as we title the series, High-Minded, there is a huge battle that's taking place in our world. And it's not on the football field. It's not on the basketball court. It's not in your household. It's in your mind. It's in your mind. So here is Moses doubting himself. Now, I don't know about any of you in here, but have you doubted yourself before? Have you questioned your abilities? Have you questioned your value? Have you questioned your significance? I'll answer for you. Yes, you have. All of us have questioned our calling. All of us have questioned our purpose. Some of us have ran from it. Some of us might still be in a position to doubt that we matter in this situation and that there's a purpose in our life. So I think that the significance of this story right here with Moses says exactly that. The battle was in his mind, and in that situation, even in the presence of God, he still doubted himself. Listen, I want to give you some information really quickly. Research suggests, like smart people have said, that you and I have about 6,000 thoughts a day. 6,000 thoughts a day. And get this, it gets better. 70% of those thoughts is usually negative and repetitive and redundant. That means we've already set the stage and the arena for Satan to come in and to have the advantage. He's already got an access point right into your mind because our thoughts are so repetitive and so redundant that we give him an opportunity to be able to orchestrate his plan in your life. Listen, I don't know if I'm speaking to someone this morning, but you need to hear and you need to know the power and the significance of your thoughts and how they will lead you and how they will steer you and how they will guide you in so many different directions just based on how you think and perceive every situation. Like, I don't ever know if you've been in disagreement with someone, and as a result of that disagreement, you formed an opinion about that person, and that opinion is somewhat negative, and now every time you see them through that experience. And what happens is after you walk away, you think negative thoughts about them. But have you ever thought of the significance of saying, you know what, God, I want my mind to be high. I want to focus on your words. I want to focus on your truth, and I want to believe that you are still working in that person that I had a conflict with. Like you are still working in a situation that doesn't seem favorable to me. Like my thoughts are still going to be in a high place because I know the significance of where my thoughts will take me. Somebody say thoughts. Got to make sure y'all are with me this morning. So I want you to think about this for just a second. Like if you and I have power in the way that we think and the way that we pursue things, what does that say about the direction of our lives? Like we literally have the power to be able to intervene in certain situations. We literally have an ability to be able to change the dynamic of our lives just based on the way that we use our mind. And it's so amazing that the Bible has so much conviction about the things that we should be focusing on as believers. But we will spend all of our life listening to so many sources that are vying for your attention, looking for your affection to give you things that aren't even true about you. And sometimes you and I will believe them. We'll allow the lies to seep into our mind about who we are, and we will make decisions about ourselves and do things based off of false thoughts. And so this morning, I hope you will give me access to your heart so God can tell you the difference and the significance of changing your mind into thoughts that are going to be powerful and change your entire perspective over life. Somebody say high-minded. Listen, I want to ask you a question. Do my thoughts fit who I am as a believer? Let's just be real. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes you're in situations where you just don't see it as favorable for you. You know what? I don't really think I'm that attractive. I'm a little insecure. I don't really think that, they're going to see the great things in me. Like, I don't really think that this job is for me. I don't really think that I could somehow come out in a victorious position if I go through this experience. I don't really think that my kids are going to be successful. I don't really think that my marriage is going to work. I don't think that this person is in a relationship with me for a good reason. I don't even believe in my abilities to be able to exist. Like, these are the things that the devil is loving to have an attachment to. But my question is will you give him a foothold to have that power over your life? Because we do have an ability to change the course in the direction of the way that we think, but we've got to change our perspective on the thoughts that we have. Somebody say high-minded. High-minded. Come on, 11:30, I got to be with me. Listen, when you tell yourself that there's no hope for me overcoming this fear, I'm going to be an addict for the rest of my life. Like, I just have this fear, I just have this anger or this response. There's no way for me to fix this. That is an opportunity for you to change the course of the direction of your life based on what you allow access to your heart. When you tell yourself there's no reason for me to live, like, I have to take this drink. These are all thoughts that are processing in our mind throughout the day, and we get an opportunity to experience. We have an opportunity to be able to change the thoughts that are in our mind if we go to the Word of God. But you've got to open your Bible and realize there are so many beautiful miracles that are waiting to be experienced if you just open and read the truth about what he says you are. Amen. But we've given so much to the world. We've let Instagram define our beauty. We've let Facebook tell us who we are. We let individuals call us out of our own position. The king has already told you you're an heir to the throne. Why don't you walk around with that confidence? He has already told you that you belong with him. Why don't you understand that when you walk into situations that don't seem as if they're going to work for you? You change the belief in others based on the way that your belief impacts the situation. I've seen somebody walk into a scenario that did not look like they had a chance to win, and it still had an attitude that impacted every person in the entire room. To where I want to follow that attitude. I want to be led by this individual because the world is looking for someone to set the example. But what are you and I going to do as believers? Because if this is the word of God and we're going to stand on it, we need to have action steps in our lives so people can say, you know what? That's where I want to go with my life. That's who I want to follow in my life because I believe what the truth says about my character and that I do have value. You can't have me, suicide. You can't have my family, devil. You got to back away because I believe that the Lord has called me for great things. I want to ask you another question. When those thoughts are coming into your mind, you need to know this, and you probably didn't even think about it. Who's talking when those thoughts are being said? So you thought it was you. That's Satan talking to you every time those thoughts come into your mind. And you got to crawl that out. You've got to pray over that situation. You got to prophesize knowing that he is looking for an access point into your mind. Because he knows that when he gets to your mind, he gets to your heart, and it spreads like a disease, and now you are a crumbled piece that is no longer able to impact the world for the purpose that God called you for. But you've got to be bold. You've got to have confidence. You've got to recognize that he said you can come before my throne boldly. Why are you walking around in the world acting as if there's no confidence in you? You can come to the king with this expectation, and our expectations are so low when they should be so high. And we keep looking for the wrong things to affirm that our life has value. Your car doesn't mean anything. Your house doesn't mean anything. The clothes you wear don't mean a thing. The heart is the only thing that God is looking for. Because it's the most valuable thing that exists in this world is the heart of a believer. And if God has access to that and the devil does not, there is a victory. I'm going to take you to the book of John. I love this situation in John chapter 8. It's a situation where the woman who had committed adultery had just been thrown before the Lord. I love this. Man, Jesus was a bad dude, by the way. Just a bad dude. I would just love to just be in his presence when he was doing his thing. It's like, bro, we got the Messiah on our side, bro. I don't know who's with you, but I'm good. Like, this is the ultimate confidence booster. I just want to follow this guy all day long. And so this woman is thrown before him by the religious leaders and the Pharisees at that time, as always. And I'm sure he's like, bro, here they go again, bro. Yo, man, she committed adultery, Jesus. You got to deal with her, bro. And so he looks up, takes her, and looks at them and says, who amongst you has not committed a sin. Oh, change the temperature of the room that fast. And everybody fleed because they couldn't stand there and say that they hadn't. So here you are, sitting in the midst of a situation that maybe you're not proud of, thinking that it's over for you. I got news for you. If you're breathing right now, God's not finished with you yet. Like if you're alive right now, he's not done with you yet. And if that's the truth, I just don't want you guys to clap about it. I want you to live like that. I want you to walk out of these doors, and every single person that comes in contact with one of us should know that there is something different about our hearts. And guess what? You're looking for a change politically, never going to happen. You're looking for a change legislatively, never going to happen. Because the only way that the world changes is if you believers show your heart to the rest of the world in such numbers that they have no choice but to come underneath the love and the power of Jesus Christ. It changes the whole playing field. God says this, for you are children of your father, the devil, and you love to do the evil things that he does. He's talking to those Pharisees again in this situation. And he goes on to say, he, referring to Satan, was a murderer from the beginning. Your dreams, your family, your visions, he wants all of that. He goes on to say, he has always hated the truth because what? There is no truth in him. When he lies, it is consistent with his character. Woo! Like, see, though, when those lies come into your mind, you need to know the source of those lies. When you know the source, it changes the way that you attack the problem. Because you thought it was your wife or your spouse, and you realize that's not even her speaking. That's the devil looking for an opportunity to insert himself into this relationship. And you got to say, not today, Satan. It goes on to say, for he is a liar and the father of lies. Listen, as a church, just as a nation, as a world, we need to understand the power of prayer. Like, we need to understand the power of prayer. Like, sometimes we get into prayers and I hear people just seem so just afraid to really just tell the truth about what they want God to do. Like, do you know who you're praying to? Do you recognize what he can do in the situation? I get it. Sometimes the practicalities of life make you disbelieve, but that is just it. You are disbelieving because the devil has saturated your heart and he's hoping to take you away. But you've got to understand, in those situations that you have an opportunity to, you should be on your knees looking for prayer over your family, over your relationships, over your finances, over your job, prayer over every single aspect of your life until you can't pray anything else. Because this is a tool that you and I have access to use to be able to have a mind that is higher and thoughts that are positive. Somebody say, high mind. Listen, as for me and my house, we will worship the Lord. As for me and my house, we will worship the Lord. When you declare these things over your life, things change. Like right now, some of you are having thoughts right now that you shouldn't be having. Like some of you are sitting in a situation just thinking, should I even be here? Does this dude even know what he's talking about? Like, what am I going to get for dinner later on? If my kids stop this nugging on me? Like, these thoughts are existing right now. And you have the power and the ability to change that if you allow him to have access into your heart. And if we're honest, most of us will confess that we don't even want to have these thoughts. But we've allowed certain things to sit in front of us and to present to us lies, and so we have no choice but to take the lie because it's been buried underneath the truth. So I want to go to Romans chapter 12, verses 2. And as I read this, I'm going to ask my team to come up and help me show you all a demonstration of how this looks. It says, don't copy the behavior and the customs of the world. There are so many excuses and reasons for us to copy what we see. Disclaimer, I'm not hating on any social media avenue, but don't you see such similarities in the individuals and how they present themselves and the things that they glorify and the things that they honor? There's a reason for that. There's a similarity in most things when you look on these social media aspects and see that, you know what, I can't replicate that individual because you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to replicate anyone else because there's a uniqueness about the suit that you wear that God has given you to be able to access your powers, but we're too worried about trying to access somebody else's life, live somebody else's situation, and walk in their shoes. But God is saying, when you accept what I have for you, then the world will see the beauty and the unique skills that you have. So, up there, you see on this ladder, there's 3 P's up there, and we could literally put a lot of different P's up there. I just got those 3 P's. We'll make something up. Purpose. That's at the top of the ladder. Prosperity, we'll put that up there. Your prophetic promises up there. Like all that's up there. I'm down here. This is what I want. This is where I want to go. And as you can see, when I go up the ladder, hope I don't fall. It's pretty easy to get to the top of this ladder. Peace, prosperity. I want to live right here. This is where I want to be here, God. Like, this is where I desire to be. But then things change if we think about the power of our thoughts as we desire to go to the top. What took me up? So, on my way to the top now, caught a little bit of fear. Can't let it go because it lives in me. That's my thoughts right now. I don't know if I'm going to be good enough for this interview. Maybe I'm not the guy for the job. You know what? On the way up the ladder, now I caught a little bit of anxiety because I'm just trembling. I just don't think this is a situation where God can use me. It's just not going to work. So now it's getting more difficult. On my way up, hey, you know what? I'm going to catch a little more insecurity on my way up the ladder. You know what? I don't really think that my life has value. And so I'm thinking about that as well. And I'm starting to stumble and lose my ability to use both of my hands to be able to cry up the ladder. Well, here comes another piece of doubt and disbelief in my life. And it's getting heavy up here, as you guys can see. I can't make my way up the ladder. There's some more coming. There's some more. Let me go. Whoa, he's a Redskins fan. That's why they do it that way. But y'all see the skills. Y'all saw the skills. You saw the catch too, all right? That was a catch. That was a catch. And I'm carrying all of this on my way to peace and prosperity. I'm not going to get there. There's too much baggage. I have too many thoughts that are negative. And as a result of holding on to all these negative thoughts, I can't reach my purpose. I can't reach my promise. I can't receive the power that God has for me because I'm too occupied by all these thoughts. I need to release them. When I release the thoughts, once again, the process to get to the top becomes so much easier because my thoughts were where God wanted them to be, which is high. But when my thoughts are down at the bottom in a place where they shouldn't be, I have the hardest time coming up to the top. Y'all make some noise for my guy Woods here. 1 Peter says this, give all, somebody say all your worries and cares to God. I'm going to say that one more time. Give all your worries and cares to God. Sometimes on my way out the door, I got 17 things on my mind. I haven't even hit the car yet, and I've got 100 different concerns and thoughts and worries all on my brain. And so what does that do? That takes away my adequacy and my ability to be fully present in every situation because my mind and my thoughts are negative. So before I even have an encounter with the first person that I meet with, I'm already in a negative space. Sadly, I'm not feeling good because my coffee was terrible. So I let something so insignificant dictate the way that I'm going to walk into a situation. When all I got to do is recognize hold on, God, you said that you have a promise for me. You said that you have a purpose for my life. You said that you have vision over it. So I should believe these things before I walk into this meeting. That coffee was great and it wasn't working out the way I wanted it to. But you know what? I still have such an amazing opportunity to be able to exist right now in this moment. But my thoughts need to be high. Stay alert. Watch out for the great enemy, the devil, it goes on to say. He prowls around like a roaring lion looking for who he may devour. The key word in this piece is may, which means there's a possibility. But are you going to allow and to submit to the possibility of being devoured by the devil? Like that's the choice right now that you can make from your seat as the thoughts are just clicking into your mind. Like the thoughts that you should have, the righteousness that you're seeking for, the life change that you're looking for, because some of us look for miracles in the wrong places. I'm here to tell you that your miracle exists right here. Like your entire world changes when your thoughts change. Like your entire world changes in front of you when your thoughts change. It's not when you get a bunch of money. It's not when you get a new position. It's not when you have nice clothes. It's not when you have all these trips across the world. It's not when you have a new home. Your world changes. The miracle that you're looking for happens right here. And it changes the whole playing field because now individuals are so impacted by the fact that you have this attitude that comes from a place of hierarchy, which is the king, that they want the same thing. How many know that a good attitude is so contagious? Much more than COVID. Like if you have a good attitude and you walk into a room, everybody's like, bro, did y'all see that? Like that's just not normal, especially on a Monday. But we take that attitude of mediocrity into every aspect of our lives. Young people, when you get into relationships, man, I'm just here for a conquest. Man, I just want sex. Because I'm just treating it like it's no big deal, not recognizing the power of sex. The reason why God placed it in marriage for a reason, because there's so much power in it. And so I'm just looking at you as a conquest. I'm no longer really seeing the value in you. I don't see any purpose in you. So I've looked at you differently. And now that changes my intentionality. It changes the way that I treat you. But when I look at you as you're going to be my wife one day, I'm valuing you. I'm taking my time with you because love is patient. Like love is not in a hurry. Love will wait. Lust is always in a hurry. Lust is always in a hurry. I need to have this fast and now because it is in a hurry. In the same way that lust is in a hurry is the same way that sin is in a hurry to get your signature on that contract of conquest of your soul for an eternity because the Kool-Aid tasted good initially. But you've got to understand that I have the power right now to change my mind. I have the power right now to change my attitude. I was approached a couple of weeks ago by someone who was a bit upset and angry with me. And in that moment, I had an opportunity to be like, you know what? And I wanted to go, But then my kids are with me, which was a great reminder. Is this the example I want to set for them? Are they going to see me act out in this situation? Because then that gives them permission to do the same thing with someone else when they come to them. But we don't think about that. We just want to let our frustration out because we've been inconvenienced. So our mind shifts. Instead of being in a positive place, now I need to do whatever I need to do to affirm myself and defend myself. I don't know about you, but I love humility. I crave after humility because I was raised in a competitive environment playing sports with all of my friends. And if you walked into any atmosphere or court and you didn't have an attitude of being somebody who could win, you were getting beat down before you even played a game. And I think it's such a great comparison because if your mind wasn't ready for the competition, you were going to get talked out of the game before it started. And so it bred this attitude that led before the actions. And we need to know that our attitude should lead the action. When our attitude leads the action, it changes the impact of what we have when we're on a playing field or we're in a meeting room. It changes the entire perspective of every situation if our attitude precedes or goes before our actions. Somebody say high-minded. Philippians 4, one of my favorite verses, it says this: don't worry about anything. Somebody say anything. You need to tell yourself that right now, today, as you get ready to leave. Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Pray about everything. Like he didn't give you these instructions on accident. He gave them to you on purpose because he knows how they can be used to change your life. But will we change the concept of miracles from a physical aspect and understand that miracles work right here? Miracles work right here. So you're looking for me to provide you with some type of substantial piece of information or something to change your life physically. You can change it today with your mind. Like all of us can walk right out of these doors with a new vision, with a new hope, with a new belief. And now that will give you access to the life that you've been craving for. But will you give him access to your heart? It goes on to say, tell God what you need. When's the last time you told God what you need? Like we go before the Lord boldly. Lord, I need help with this situation. I want to let go of these suicide thoughts. I want to let go of this alcohol if it's my problem. I want to let go of these negative thoughts I have about the people who I think are persecuting me. I want to walk into the situation and I want to see something great in an individual. I want to encourage them. I want to lift them up. I want to be someone who motivates them. I no longer want these thoughts to permeate in my mind and put me in a position to where no longer am I walking in light, but I'm covered in darkness. It goes on to say, then after we've stopped worrying and we started praying, it says, then you will experience God's peace. Somebody say peace. Is there anybody in here who just wants peace? Like, is there anybody in here who wants peace? I'm just looking for hands all over the room who just want peace. If you don't, that's cool. That's cool. You don't have to show your hands up. But if you just want peace, we ought to be in a position jumping up and running throughout the room because I want peace in my life. And if I'm going to get to the top of that ladder, then I got to let go of those negative thoughts. Because if I don't let go of those negative thoughts, my availability and my opportunity to get up that ladder, it slims. It slims. Listen, choose to worship God and not your circumstances. Yo, man, sometimes your circumstances make you think that there's just no hope for you. Your circumstances just make you think that there's no possibility for your kids to ever be successful, for their behavior ever to change. But when you start to change that focus from the circumstances and actually increase who God is, because he's actually huge and he can change the entire scenario, and stop putting all of your focus in this really small issue and start putting on the focus in who God is. And it changes the way that you perceive your circumstances. Like I can walk into a room now with a different mentality. Like I can see things completely different. Proverbs 12 says this: worry weighs a person down, and an encouraging word cheers a person up. Listen, we need to choose to magnify God and not our concerns. Like magnify God and not our concerns. Listen, there's 4 concepts that I want to share with you about how you can change your thoughts, and we want to close. And the first one, I believe, is just so simple but amazing. Live on purpose for a purpose. Live on purpose for a purpose. Like so many of us will live recreationally. There'll be no intentionality behind the way that we live, but when we start to live on purpose, knowing that there's something that I was called to do, knowing that there was an assignment from God, then that changes the entire perspective yet again. But we need to live on purpose for a purpose. Point number 2, recognize the power. Somebody say power. Recognize the power that each of your thoughts holds. Your thoughts are powerful. Like you need to know that your thoughts change lives. Your words change lives. Speak the truth about what the Bible says that you are. If he has a plan and a purpose for you, then surely this situation that you're in is not going to last for an eternity. And if you're consistent with your prayers, seeking after who he is before you seek after the concerns or the problems that you have, I guarantee there will be a change. But you've got to understand where you're going to as a source to see the change of your life. So many of us come into this place desperate, and I love the fact that we're desperate to come into this place, but you need to know that the answer is simple. Change your mind. Like change your heart. All of these things precede each other based on your heart and your mind being changed, and the vision that you had can now be realized. My third one, seek God and give him dominion over your life. Like seek God and give him dominion over your life. Like we will seek so many different things thinking that that's going to somehow lead us into fulfillment or wholeness. But when you surrender and fall on your knees and say, God, it's not by my might, but by yours that this situation is going to change. I'm going to put my trust into you. I'm going to surrender. I'm no longer going to look for these things outside to provide me with what I need, but I will use you as my source to get me where I need to be. My last point is this, and as the band comes out, we're going to close. Assess what your eyes and your ears consume. Your eyes are seeing things all day long. Your ears are hearing things. And sometimes we take for granted the power of the sources that have our heart. I don't want to offend anybody, but some of the movies we watch, some of the content that we view, some of the shows that we think are awesome and entertaining are actually corrupting our thoughts. It's taking away the belief that we have in people because we're just so saturated with negative news and information. Seeing death and things that you shouldn't see as often makes you a little bit more accepting of these things in life and not to be in a position to say, I need to continue to pray. But when we allow our kids to see things, not thinking that there's any consequence to what they're watching, we make the mistake of giving the devil access. And when you don't want to spend time with your kids, there is a guy who will spend time with your kids, and he is in hell waiting to have your kids' attention. So the next time you get ready to give them that tablet and say, go watch a movie, think about what they're going to be looking at. And then 17 years later, when you don't recognize the person in front of you because you've neglected the power to speak positive words into their life or to be a part of their life, you'll be able to say, I wasn't there presently, but here's your opportunity to put yourself in a position to understand that once your mind shifts, I'm now going to be completely intentional and engage every opportunity that I have with every person that is possible because I want to experience the love of God. Listen. Something happened this morning, and it changed my heart. And And the truth is that should happen every time we come into church. We shouldn't come into this place expecting to just go through a normal process. Our expectations are low when they really should be high. There's a young woman who I spoke to this week, and we had a long conversation. And she said, you know what, I don't go to church. And she began to tell me the reasons why she didn't go to church. Over a period of just what seemed like her entire life, she had just been taken advantage of. She'd been disrespected. She'd been devalued. She'd been told that she wasn't good enough. And so she lost the vision of who God was because of what people did in that situation. Sometimes you can be the only example of Jesus in the life of someone else. And what you need to know is that your words have power. What you need to know is that the thoughts that you're having come from somebody else that you may have experienced these things with. And so I'm imploring you this morning to think about the significance of that. And so this morning, she walked into here with her mother. And I fell on my knees. I said, God, you're good. Because here's a situation where I had an opportunity and I was surrendering myself to be used by you to speak a few words of encouragement into a life that had thought it wasn't valuable anymore. And as a result of that, she's standing in your house today. And I'm looking for miracles in the wrong places, but here is a miracle of how your thoughts can change the course of a person's life if you will be committed to that. Listen, as we stand to our feet and get ready to close service, I want to share with you one last piece, and I'll be quick. There's no man in my life who holds a higher seat than my father. And one of the reasons why I think I have a relationship with God, or I know I have a relationship with God, is because of the example that my father set for me on earth. And sometimes we take for granted the people who are in our lives to lead us, but I want to tell you that my father set an example to where he sacrificed what he had so that I could have better. And so here's a child that was born in the projects of Brooklyn, New York, who had to put just cardboard on the bottom of his shoes and many times didn't really feel like there was anything significant about his life. But here's a situation where God says, I'm going to use this young man to put a son in a position to speak the gospel many years later. That's going to affect hearts to come to my glory. And so I'm so honored to know that words matter. So when I struggled playing basketball, who was there? My dad, son, you'll do much better than that. He used to tell me when I was younger, when he held me, I looked into your eyes and I knew that you were going to be special one day. And I believe that even in your worst situations, that God was going to do great things for you one day. And I'm standing here today on the promises and the prayers of my mother as she would be on her knees at night just praying to God. And I would say, Mom, what are you doing? I'm praying for your wife. I'm praying for your children. I'm praying one day that you will stand and you'll be able to give glory to who God is to all of those who don't know him. And so I was there in that moment. I said, as a child, there's no way that that's ever going to happen. But here I am standing today on the promises of prayers that I had no responsibility for. So with that, I know that there's hope for you. But you've got to speak that over your life. You've got to remind someone who you come in contact with that there's hope for them. You've got to say, instead of going into conflict with a person, I'm going to go at that person's heart and seek to corral them because they are a soul that needs to be in a position to experience the love of Jesus Christ. Listen, our prayer warriors are up front, and I want to make this moment right now so special for someone who's in a position of hurt. Someone who doesn't feel like there's any value over their life. Someone who doesn't believe that they really have anything left to offer. Let's just be honest. Some of us are thinking our life needs to end today, and this is not the truth. That is a lie from Satan, and there is an opportunity for you to experience tremendous peace and power and your prophetic promise, but you've got to make the decision to give your life to him. So maybe you don't know what that looks like. Maybe you're discouraged. I'm just going to encourage you and implore you to just take one step at a time to the front of the church and to just receive prayer. Maybe there's just a conversation that you need to have about what's on your heart. Maybe you don't know the way to get to him. Paul says, follow me as I show you where he's at. And so here's your opportunity to come down to the aisle and to receive prayer over your life. My desire is that all would come underneath the power of Jesus. Listen, if you want to see the world change, then you've got to know that it starts in this place. Like this is where hearts change underneath the love of Jesus Christ. We're looking for so many things to provide us with a change, and here is the opportunity for you to experience that change with a mind shift. And then that becomes contagious, and others see that and want to follow. So if there's anything that's preventing you from coming forward, I know that the evil one is at work, but this is an opportunity to receive prayer. Come on, let's go back into worship. We're going to give you a moment to be able to make that decision. But if this is your choice, I implore you to make it, because there's a life that can be changed, but you've got to make the step. If you believe that, can we give God some praise in this place? Can we just lift him up?